Okay, so I just got done doing commentary for Most Valuable Prospects number 6 here in Orlando, Florida. What a night of fights. Banger after banger after banger. But my big takeaway from the card is obviously we had some fantastic prospects putting their name out there live on the zone in front of the world. But it wasn't that. It was the fact that one, Jake Paul, yes, co-founder, MVP, you guys know this, was actually in attendance. And there was a rumor that circulated a couple days ago about Jake's weight heading into the Mike Tyson fight. And I got to see firsthand exactly what that was and why I needed to come tell you guys after seeing Jake tonight and seeing what he weighed, which is, quite frankly, bigger than I've ever seen him. I don't think we're ever getting Jake Paul versus KSI. And here's why. The breakdown, let's go. Now, I know before you get into this, Wade, we've talked about this fight ad nauseum. Why are you doing another video? It's because in the back of my head, I always thought we'd get that fight. And maybe we still will. Maybe I'm wrong. Trust me, I'm wrong a lot on this channel. You guys love to tell me that. And so yes, that could potentially still happen. But when I walked into the venue tonight, as we know, Jake Paul getting ready for Mike Tyson on July 20th. Every time I've seen Jake fight over the last year, and I've seen him in person, he's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And pause, no diddy, he looked huge. I mean, every bit of what was reported, I think by Shane Mosley saying Jake was 230 pounds, he looked like it. And again, here in attendance was Coach Larry Wade. He wouldn't tell me any sort of weight or anything like that. They're keeping that under wraps. But he just said, listen, it's not a surprising thing to think of Jake as a real heavyweight now. He's bigger and he's stronger. I mean, again, I can't confirm any of this, but Larry Wade was telling me he was bench pressing 315 pounds for reps. That's crazy. And also, you know, we've seen Mike Tyson over the last couple of months doing his training, getting ready for the fight. And I talked to you guys, I think maybe on the breakdown about Jake Paul, and if there are any disadvantages for Jake in this fight, obviously they would be the experience Mike has, the power that I think a lot of people are going to give Mike, but I don't necessarily know that Mike is going to have the advantage in. I know it sounds crazy, Wade talking about a legend in heavyweight boxing not punching harder than Jake Paul, but again, I'm just telling you at 57 years old and what I saw from Jake tonight, he might be bigger than Mike in this fight. I don't know what Mike's weighing these days, but he walked into that venue all of, in my opinion, 230 pounds. He was massive. And like I said, the deficiencies I thought Jake may have is some vulnerability to the body. Not because I've seen that from him, but I haven't seen his body attacked, and that's what Mike Tyson did very well. Even in the Roy Jones Jr. exhibition, one of the things, I was going to make a separate video about this, but we might as well just talk about it. One of the things I saw, if you wanted to look at this fight and say, where would Mike potentially gain an advantage early? Potentially, it could be the body shots that he landed on Roy Jones that we haven't seen landed on Jake, and we haven't seen Jake have to react to, especially from a heavyweight puncher, whatever Mike still has left in his hands. But now again, seeing Jake at 230 pounds, yes, you can argue that 230 is going to slow Jake down a lot, and he's going to have to carry it for an undisclosed amount of time. We still don't know the rounds or any of that stuff yet, but it's going to be a hard adjustment. But one thing that it will help with is absorbing punches. And again, I don't know what the strategy here is for Jake, other than quite simply putting this weight on shows me they are there to throw hammers. Jake Paul absolutely is not taking whatever this is going to be, exhibition or pro, as some sort of, you know, sparring session or, you know, go in there and box Mike Tyson. He's going in there to knock Mike Tyson the fuck out. Again, everybody has their opinions on what this fight looks like, if Mike is going to be Mike, which I don't think he will be, but something about what I saw tonight told me very clearly that this is not some moment for Jake to share the ring with Mike and that be it. He's absolutely going to try to make a statement by doing whatever it is that he thinks he's going to do to Mike Tyson in that ring. And him gaining this weight will leave his body a little less susceptible to some of those punches, you would think. But it's always a trade-off, and wondering how Jake is going to hold 230 pounds. Let's say it's 6 rounds. Let's say it's 8 rounds. Maybe, I don't know if they'll do this, but 10 rounds. He's already, in some spots, shown that he will slow down in certain moments if the volume is there from another fighter that's walking forward. He's been able to carry his power late into fights, even at a lower weight class, so he'll probably still be able to do that, but it's very interesting watching Jake put on this amount of weight. Like, you would have thought, okay, 210 pounds, 220 pounds for Jake, and I'm telling you, he looks bigger than that right now. And maybe he'll cut down a little bit, but why would you at heavyweight? It looks very clear to me that there's one job and one job only. No, again, decision or whatever it's going to be. Jake wants to put absolute bombs on Mike Tyson. And that's not necessarily the point of this video. We're going to do breakdowns on breakdowns on breakdowns as that fight goes closer. But this also tells me that unfortunately, and again, I could be wrong, this may be the end of the big discussion in influencer boxing. Because if Jake Paul is going to come into this fight at 230 pounds and is going to continue his career, I assume, at around 190 to 200, I don't really know, but it seems a little far-fetched to think that Jake would come into this fight 230 pounds and in any sort of short time frame, or let's just say within the rest of the year, come all the way down to 180 pounds or whatever the agreed upon weight would be for a KSI and Jake Paul fight. That's 50 pounds difference, and one that I just don't see happening in the short term and maybe potentially even the long term. Because as we sit here today, KSI has stopped posting on YouTube. Hasn't really talked about himself getting back into boxing anytime recently. Obviously, Misfits is still going on and they're still producing shows and whatnot. But even when KSI decides he wants to come back, and I do think he'll come back and box, I don't know when that's going to be. It could be the end of this year. It could be into 2025. It could be even further out than that. And again, I've told you guys this before, the more we waited for that fight, the less likely it was going to be that it actually happened, and that's what's coming to fruition. I said this all the way back in March of 2023, that this fight, as both guys went their opposite directions, the interest in it would continue to fall. And here we are. I spoke on Twitter about Jake being 230 pounds, and I saw some of the people in the comments talking about, well, I guess the KSI fight's not happening now, and replies to those comments being like, who cares? That's not me saying that, but I don't know, maybe you guys can let me know. Is that the general consensus still? Are we at the point now where it doesn't really matter if we get that fight in? That would be a shame. Honestly, it would be, for all the buildup, for all the things that could have happened. That would be a shame if we never got it, but I'm at the point now where I think that's probably reality. Whereas before this, and before the Mike Tyson fight, I was on the 50-50 will they, won't they bandwagon. And I have been for the last 4 years. You had to think there was a possibility of it happening. And it's crazy that almost a year ago at the same time frame, we almost had a date set, right? The end of the year, December, it was going to happen. We were that close and still, it just couldn't get done. And I think, again, the longer we wait and the more Jake dives into boxing and KSI, rightfully so, takes a break from that and continues to pursue other passions, I just don't see it happening. Again, it's not what I want. That's not what I think the scene deserves. But sometimes reality isn't dictated on what we think should happen. It's just life goes on. I think that's the position we're in right now. So as I sit here in Orlando, Florida, after an awesome night of fights on Most Valuable Prospects, I had to make this video because of what I saw, not only in the ring, but the prospects and all that. But when I saw Jake Paul walk over to commentary and talk to us, that looked like a dude that has no interest in going anywhere under that 200-pound range anytime soon. And based off his last couple of fights, and obviously the Mike Tyson fight, I can't speak for the man, but the vision doesn't seem to line up the way it did a year ago. Don't kill the messenger on this one. I'm just bringing it to you guys because I think you have to face reality at some point, and I think that point is now, at least, again, in the short term. And I mean 2024, maybe into 2025. The outlook looks grim for a Jake Paul KSI fight, but the outlook on this Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight has just gotten a little more interesting. Why this amount of weight, this moment, this early, when we still are a couple of months away from the fight? It seems like the answer is pretty simple. I told you guys this from the beginning, and the way that Jake is starting to build his program, because he is in camp. This isn't a 230 that, at least I didn't get to see what the, I didn't ask him to show his tits or nothing, but he didn't look like it was a fat 230. It looked like a stocky, boulder build. The guy looks solid. And you have to think the only reason to gain that much weight, 10, 15 pounds, whatever it is, because I know he walks around the 210-pound range anyway, is to essentially, if this is going to be an exhibition, not let it get to the point where we're holding up both fighters' hands and being like, woo, yeah, you guys did it. Great job. And if this is a pro fight, which I don't think it is, I just still don't know, I have no idea, for Jake to not let this thing go the distance and do exactly what no one wants for him to do, and would make him the ultimate villain in the sport of boxing, knock Mike Tyson out cold. Maybe that's the catalyst we need for the Jake and KSI fight. KSI fighting for the revenge of Mike Tyson, which is not really a congruent storyline, but we'll take what we can get. Seeing him tonight, I don't think it's happening. But again, I've been wrong a lot on this channel, and maybe I am once again, but that's where you guys come in. Comment section, you let me know, am I crazy for thinking what I'm thinking? Is it time to just face reality and move on from what was and what could have been the biggest fight in influencer boxing history? Or is there still a chance? I don't have those answers, but big things coming soon, and I'm not talking about Jake Paul's weight gain. Stay tuned, and I guess we'll find out.